So this will be the first video in a series where we go ahead and assemble the new IMSAI 8080 CPA-A kit from the new IMSAI. This kit is a faithful reproduction of the original CPA panel that shipped in about 1975. The circuit board is laid out the same as an original. All the parts are as original as they can be made. It comes with the front panel acrylics and a new graphic sheet based on actual film. All the hardware required and a manual. The kit is fully assembled using the original IMSAI manual that was provided with the kit. It would have been in the book like I have back here. You will have your own section in the manual for this. And like I say, it's a faithful reproduction. There's a series of videos where we're going to install the components. We're going to follow the assembly order as defined in the manual. This will be, looks like my current planning is 12 total videos long. It's a lot of video content. There's a lot to dive into and a lot to explain as we put this panel together. So I'm super excited to be able to share this with you. This is the first IMSAI CPA Rev 4 kit off the kitting line. So because I've done a ton of the engineering, I won't say most, but a ton of the engineering on this. And Robert's done an incredible amount of stuff too. And we've got nearly a year into this, honestly, to get to the point where we have a box with the full kit in it. This is the first one. It's come to me for evaluation and assembly, and there's things I need to do to like validate component loads and that kind of stuff as part of this, but this is the kit as you will see it when you get yours in the mail. As I said, this is the CPA Rev 4, otherwise known as the control panel. It's the part on the front of the computer with the LEDs and the switches. It's a single part of a complete IMSAI system. You need a CPU card and a backplane and power supply and other stuff to get a fully functional system. But this is certainly a big part of it. There's some check boxes here that aren't set. IMSAI shipped the kits with no sockets originally. I'm going to build this kit to that standard. I'm not going to use sockets. You could order a set of standard sockets or machine sockets when you order your kit. We have the ability to take that front graphic mask with the IMSAI 8080 on it. Those can be customized. This should have the standard IMSAI 8080 graphic sheet. It includes switches, so the no switches here isn't checked, and of course it's assembled and tested. This wasn't. This is a kit. So beautiful tag there. There's a tag here on the front that probably won't show up on camera. I'm going to flip this around because the box opens this direction and take a look at what's inside of the kit. So the first thing we have is the component list. As you said, the list is grouped by sub-package. Original IMSAI part numbers are 9-digit and Parastream numbers are 10. So Parastream is the parent company that IMSAI is a division of. Parastream's been around a long time. I've known Robert for quite a while. This is his packing list of everything that should be in here, and you can see it's quite a list. There's a lot of stuff here. Heat sinks, nuts, capacitors, machine screws, except just a ton of stuff here to be assembled down to the logic load. So that's there. This is so exciting. This is so cool. We have our user manual. So a lot of time and effort's gone into this manual to get it created. This manual was created by taking scans of original manuals and doing a tremendous amount of work to clean these pages up and get them nice and crisp, black on white. Making sure it's the correct version of the manual for the panel, those kind of things. There's been a lot of work to get this manual to this point. My philosophy with manual restoration is I want the manual as close to the original that you would have got in the kit, maybe even as close as I can get it to the master that IMSAI back in the day photocopied. So you can see this is, it's nice crisp text. It's on white paper. It looks just excellent. I'm very pleased with the end result of the work here. I capture a lot of details as I do this work. I'll point out some, of course, an original images here of an original assembled Rev 4 CPA. I believe there's a second image right behind it. Again, look how beautiful those images are. A lot of work went into getting those to reproduce well. In these later revisions of the IMSAI manual, there was these little stamps here added that say 1977 IMSAI Manufacturing Corp. San Ledrero, I think it is, California, made in USA, all rights reserved. A lot of these pages got stamped. It's inside of here. Those have been maintained. A lot of work has gone into keeping the printed page the same size the original was. So in some of the PDFs, you'll find out there where you can print an original scan manual. The actual printed image is smaller because the borders weren't respected. So that's been addressed. The diagrams are in here from the original manual, the user guide, all the way down to the interface cable that jumps between the CPA panel and the IMSAI. For all of these kind of drawings, I strive to find drawings with the original drafting frame around them. People have scanned just pieces of these, and that really irritates me. I want the complete page. I want it to look the way it did when it was originally there. See, this is the optional mod to add write protect. So the original manual that IMSAI shipped had this modification section in it to go in and basically turn, I think it's the power switch, into a write protect switch, so memory couldn't be written to. And that made a lot of sense in like industrial applications when the IMSAI was used as a station controller. There's an ECO here included in the manual, IMSAI ECO 24001, that talks about part substitutions. So we've done the analysis and gone through the board and have determined that these two 7400s can be replaced with 74LS100s without any kind of detrimental problems with the CPA. These are all tested substitutions, often for parts that are still in production versus parts that don't. And so there's a change order here to cover those changes. The text in the manual has been left exactly as it was, so it'll call for a 7400, but we can look here and see these two devices are a 74LS100. There's a second ECO here at 240010 that just says that the LEDs now have spacers. So there's a spacer that goes on the LED and then it goes into the circuit board, and that sets the LED at the proper height off the board. If you actually read the LED details in here in the assembly diagram, or the assembly process, it talks here about getting a professional look. They're installed on the board first before any other components, blah, blah, blah. And then it talks about making a jig here to hold them the right height up off the board, about 1/8 of an inch. And it says, take a couple of blank pieces of PCB, glue them together, hacksaw slot into it, and use it as a spacer. Those instructions we're not going to do because we have spacers, and this just says instead use the spacers and hold everything down flush. There are the original diagrams from IMSAI. We have one here that is the part placement diagram. This is what you would have originally built the board from. And again, you can see that I have found a copy that has the drafting stuff around it, the revision history, all those things that I really enjoy having. And there it is. And you can certainly use this to build the board. The board component locations, everything are identical to what you see here. This can be used to build the board. For component locations, there's an original IMSAI schematic here. Again, that's been cleaned up from a scan of an original schematic and cleaned up as best I could. It's hard to read. It's always been hard to read. And then, of course, because this is a reproduction kit, and we've done all the work to capture the schematic and design the board in a modern CAD package, we can produce documents like this. So here's a parts placement diagram that we provide. You can certainly use the original IMSAI one if you want the real experience of what it was like in the 70s to assemble one of these. Or you can use our updated sheet here that's just easier to read, larger text, but conveys the same information. And of course, we supply a full set of schematics. These were done in KiCad, and these schematics cover multiple pages here. So it's much easier to follow these schematics just because things are larger, it's laid out better. And this schematic, after being captured, was validated against an IMSAI production PCB, a new old stock PCB. And a lot of work went in making sure that PCB layout and the schematic matched. This schematic has all of the ECOs applied to it. So there was 4 different ECOs that dealt with one-shots and DRAMs and things. And those are all in the schematic, and they're actually all in the circuit board that we'll be assembling here. The manual's put together where you could use it as standalone, or you could remove the heavy cover pages and just add it to your manual. The IMSAI manual originally came in a big, thick, white 3-ring binder. And again, it's just flexibility here. build as it originally was or use the supplemental pages. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. We have a bag here with logic. I know that's the 8212 sitting there because it's 24-pin dip. Lots of other pretty stuff in it. A piece of filler. The interface cable that runs between the CPA and the MPU, the 8080 card in the machine. There's a cable that connects the two together over the top. The switch kit. These are newly manufactured switches. The toggles are injection molded. They are not 3D printed. I say these are reproductions of original switches. These are actually a better switch because they're sealed and they have the proper coating inside. They're either gold or silver. These are actually a dual switch that can be used for high voltage or low voltage switching. The original IMSAI switches had gold or silver contacts, and for low voltage data stuff, you really want gold contacts. The silver are oxidized, whereas you're using the silver with a high voltage like an AC line. The switch will self-clean every time it's actuated. These switches, if you pass high voltage through it, by design, this is intentional, the gold will be evaporated off and the silver will be left behind for the high voltage. So these switches are sealed. They should have a much longer service life. If you've ever dealt with the old IMSAI switches on an original machine, often the switches are flaky or don't work and require cleaning. Those switches weren't sealed and oxygen got in and it was easy to oxidize things. There's the LED spacers and the LEDs. I've talked about these LEDs before. Modern LEDs, if you compare these to them, have a taller package. Because of the spacing that goes between the front panel sections here and the PCB and the LEDs, modern LEDs are too tall to be in there correctly. So these LEDs are in the proper package, proper size. They match exactly the size of the originals, and they're also the right frequency of red. Modern LEDs are a different frequency versus the original LEDs. It's a different manufacturing process. These happen, well, they don't happen. They intentionally are the same frequency as the originals. These have a little bit deeper red to them if you take a look and notice. So again, very intentional here and very intentional again, the spacers to make for a cleaner build. There is the hardware set here to mount the front panel. There's the screws, the proper spacers. There's even a little Allen wrench in here to make getting that front panel mounted easier. There's the resistor kit and a set of capacitors in here. There's 3 critical capacitors in the kit. They're 0.001 microfarad and 0.01 microfarad, and we'll dive into details, and they're packaged separate here just so you get those correct. This is the switch support bracket. It's a metal bracket. It's identical to the original one that's shipped. The switches screw into it to provide support. You may have seen this in a previous video. If not, we'll dive into it. There's a circuit board here, and this is actually not the board we're going to use. We're going to be using this board. It's a little closer to the final production board. Actually, it is the final production board. So Robert just packed this board in there just so there was a board in there. Like I say, this is the board we're going to actually assemble here in this. Like I said, this is a final evaluation, and we knew the board would need to be swapped. There's a second kit here with the heatsink, voltage regulator, and all the 0.1 microfarad caps and the tantalum caps. And this way, the sea of 0.1 microfarad decoupling caps are separated from the 3 special caps that are in here. So we have our board we're going to work with here. We have in a separate wrap here what is truly the most iconic visible part of the IMSAI. Let me see if I can cut the tape here. And this is my first time actually having my hands on these actual production pieces. Robert and I live on different sides of the country, and so I've been working with prototypes and other pieces. So actually being able to share with you my first time seeing the actual production pieces here is really cool. already vacuumed. Oh, they're taped together. That's why they don't want to come apart. I don't want to take a chance on scratching any of this. I should be able to hopefully cut that tape to release it. Don't necessarily follow my process for this. It's just what I'm doing. Use whatever process is most intuitive to you. I should probably just be peeling the tape off. Honestly, there's protective paper on here. But I do the things I do. I'm so excited to actually see this stack. The acrylic panels here are proper extruded panels. They are not, or cast panels. These are actually cast panels, not extruded. They're higher quality. They're more scratch resistant. A lot of the replacement panels we've seen out there are using a softer acrylic. This is the red filter. It was router cut. It was not laser cut. So it was cut the same way it was back in the original time. Same thickness, etc. As the red filter. There is the backing sheet. It is white on one side. It is silver on the other. The silver color faces in so that the LED light is reflected back in and doesn't peek through. And of course the white faces out. It goes this way. There is what has been the most difficult part, honestly, in this project to reproduce, and that is this sheet right here. This sheet is manufactured the same way IMSAI manufactured it. It's actually film. It's not a clear plastic with dot matrix, printed ink or whatever on it. It's actually done in a photographic process, the same way IMSAI did. And of course, it sits on top of the white sheet, and that's what makes, the 8080 here pop, is that white behind. We thought this was going to be a simple thing to manufacture, and it turned into an extremely long part of the project to get right, but it was one of those details that just had to be right. And we have the ability to customize this. I'm aware of at least one bank that had a customized front panel when they used IMSAI in their environment. And of course, you could have industrial controller front panels or whatever. It's just super fantastic to see that. Just what a treat. And of course, I'm trying to be careful here. It's the clear acrylic front panel. It's got white protective plastic on it, so it appears white. And again, properly cut. So let's set the stack back together. Trying to be careful and delicate with this stuff. Just what an exciting point in time it is to be here with this at this point in the project. Like I said, we have nearly a year with two people, full-time or nearly full-time on this project to get to this point. I'm retired, and it really has been full-time for me, really starting late last year, and then with Robert's involvement as well. I had the vision for what I wanted to do here. It was really for my needs. And then Robert just took it to the next level. Have our board here. The final production board, same design and everything. We'll have beveled edges, etc. This is a prototype again, but your board will be pretty much identical to it. So we have that guy. We've hit a bit on the user manual. Let me set it back in here. God, this is exciting. We'll take a quick peek here at the parts list. So we saw the board with the heat sink. I can see the machine screws in there. There's the 7805. I'm assuming the nut is in there with the machine screw, which just caught up in things. There's the nut. There's a lock washer in there as well that I'm sure is there. 33 picofarad, or 33 microfarad, should be two of them. tantalums, and I see both of them in there. The 0.1 microfarad volt and so 2, 33, 17.1. That's correct. Yeah, 17.1 decoupling caps and the two 33 microfarad tantalums. Looks to me like that bag is correct. Resistors. There's a whole bunch of 220 ohms. I believe it's 44 of them, one for every LED on the front panel. You can see there's a sea of them here, and they are red, red, brown. And then there's some others. There's some 1K ohms, and there's some 47K ohms, and a single 270K ohm, and there should be 2.001 and 1.01 disc caps. Those are those critical timing caps. And there should be a diode in that bag. I don't see it popping out at me, but I'm sure it's hidden in there someplace. Oh, there it is. So there's a little signal diode sitting there. There should be, I believe, 44 red LEDs, diffused, proper process for manufacturing. Should be 44 standoffs, so we get the proper height on those. There should be a full switch kit, which is here, and this has got the blue paddle gold contact, red paddle gold. So I talked about before, the momentaries and the full toggle, and then the red rocker universal. And universal just means it's got the gold silver stuff I mentioned originally. We should see a 16-position cable assembly here, which we do. Of course, the bare board we've already looked at. We've looked at the 4 pieces here for the front panel. Acrylics, white backing sheet. It should call out CPA switch bracket right here. This has hardware bundled with it. I can feel the little screws inside of there. They're right here. So that's the stiffener bracket and its hardware. He calls out the button head screws, the black screws here. There's 2 sets of spacers that are different heights, and the L key here to actually tighten those up. That's in the package. And we've got the logic here. And of course, like I said, I can see the 8212. It immediately pops out because it's 24 pin. I'm sure it's in the list here someplace, 123. There it is, 8212. And all the other logic that goes on here. You know, there's 574 LSO5s that are drivers for the bus, etc. It's just really nice to see those all together there. Robert has done an absolutely excellent job packing this. It's really cool to get to see it here for the first time. Oh, anything else to hit on here as I kind of move forward with wrapping this one up and then starting to get everything together so we can begin soldering components and getting the board built. Have I left anything out here that should have been in the box? Oh, what a beautiful kit. Just fantastic, fantastic here, what I'm seeing. Just, of course, I'm maybe a little bit biased. I've had heavy involvement in this project. Beautiful, beautiful. So, there it is. I happen to actually be at the door and caught the postman as he dropped this off. There it is, the IMSAI CPA Rev 4 kit from Pairstream/IMSAI Technologies, with lots of work from myself, Retrotech Reboot, or Shadowtron blog, depending on how you know me. Poured into this too, a lot of heart, a lot of time. Super thrilled to see this as a kit. It's just very cool. Let's wrap up this video here, and I guess in the next video we will look at the assembly instructions and begin putting the CPA panel together. Hope to see you in that video. I appreciate watching this little intro. Next video, it'll be linked here to this video, will be the LED assembly. Hope to see you in that video.